From advertising to software as a service to data.
Across all of our programs and clients, we've seen a 55 to 65% open rate.
Getting brands authentically integrated into content performs better than TV advertising.
Typical lifespan of an article is about 24 to 36 hours.
If we're reaching out to the right person with the right message and a clear call to action, then it's just a matter of timing.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast, a member of the I Hear Everything Podcast Network. In this podcast, you'll hear the stories of world-class marketers that use technology to drive business results and achieve career success. Here's the host of the MarTech Podcast, Benjamin Shapiro.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Shapiro, and today we're going to discuss artificial intelligence and things like email and database architecture. Joining us is Brian McKenna, who is the VP of CRM at DMI Partners, which is a full-service performance marketing agency working with today's leading consumer B2B and e-commerce brands like Henkel, Sargento, Smithfield Foods, Vineyard, Vines, Anthropologie, and my favorite, Skims. DMI's email and affiliate management accompanies a best-in-class suite of digital services to engage target audience that drive revenue. And today, Brian and I are going to discuss how you can leverage email tools using artificial intelligence. All right, here's the first part of my conversation with Brian McKenna, the VP of CRM at DMI Partners. Brian, welcome to the MarTech Podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me, Benjamin.
Excited to have you on the show. Excited to talk a little bit about some of the future and some of the big changes that are happening in MarTech this year. You're kind of at the center of it where we've got these privacy changes. We're deprecating cookies. Everybody's concerned about privacy. All of a sudden, email spam filters are changing. All things that affect how the CRM works. And oh, by the way, artificial intelligence is still here and not getting any smaller. A lot for us to unpack. Let's talk a little bit about some of the changes in email for marketers. How are you thinking about leveraging artificial intelligence in email tools?
Yeah, it's an interesting question that we hear from our clients. It's certainly been an industry buzzword. We have a lot of clients that get back from a conference and they always ask us, what are we doing in AI? Or what can we do to get into AI? The nice thing is that for those same clients, often they may not even realize that we're leveraging AI today in a lot of the work that they're doing. And so some of the ways that we're already leveraging AI or they are already leveraging AI include send time optimization, making sure that we're sending the right message to the right subscriber based off of when they have historically engaged with email. Doing some work around product feed recommendations. So within emails, figuring out what is the right product to feature within an email based off of that individual subscriber's purchase history or browse history. And then in terms of other ways that we're leveraging AI for them, it gets a little bit further into thinking through segmentation, audience. So who should we be messaging, sending this individual message to? Can we build a segmentation based off of, say, Salesforce Marketing Cloud's Einstein tool that will recommend who gets put into individual segment or who has received the right amount of messaging today and moving forward? I guess the piece that is new is that there is a lot of talk around a GPT tool in email. And so a lot of the big ESP solutions in the space have announced a GPT solution that they're going to market with in terms of you can put in certain prompts. They'll give you the list for that individual send and also build an email on the fly. How we view that potential solution, it's a very powerful tool and one that we're excited about, but all the use cases we've seen are very much similar to what we would even do in terms of like building an email for our clients, doing the work around an audience selection, and maybe not to quite the quality of what we would potentially build for them or that they might build on their behalf. Where we really see the power is in the ability to do that at scale and really thinking through how can we trigger the right email in an automated system that features much more robust personalization throughout it because it's benefiting from the AI solution. And what we see is that's very much a tool that's coming in the future, but is not available today for our clients. It's something we're kind of in the work of like prepping them for that future state.
In the essence of full disclosure, this is the first podcast I've recorded in 2024. I took a couple weeks off at the end of 2023, and maybe things have changed. But when I left my desk in 2023, back in the day, I said that we were in the sandwich phase of artificial intelligence, where a human makes a prompt, the artificial intelligence responds to that, and then the human corrects or edits it before it can be published. right? If I want ChatGPT to write an email for me, the end product is not going to be something that I'm happy with, but it's good for that first draft creation. Now, when you talk about things like segmentation, maybe it's changed in the few weeks that I've been away from my microphone, but is artificial intelligence now good enough to say, all right, I've got a business objective. I want to drive incremental sales for this new product line we're launching. Figure out my segmentation for me and build the list? Or are you saying, hey, Einstein or whatever tool you're using, here's the outcome, give me a list, and then you have to go through it manually and modify it? Are we still in the sandwich phase, or do we get the whole cookie here?
I love the sandwich metaphor. I would say that we're 100% still in the sandwich phase, especially as it relates to anything that we would be putting into production. So, I think what we talk about is it's often really good at giving us an idea that leads to an idea. So it's very much a prompt that we'll use to build the first pass an audience, but then we'll going to want to layer guardrails around that and making sure that, especially in email, one of the things we always talk about is that sending the wrong message to the wrong person can almost be like more impactful than sending to thousands of people that are the right consumers. So making sure that we're pulling out people that may have recently purchased or may have recently abandoned a cart, and making sure that we're only delivering them messages that really are high touch based off of that recent engagement. So I think it's very much still in that sandwich phase is how I would view it.
When you talk about some of the email automation tools, you mentioned list building and segmentation, copywriting, hey, write the messaging, and then things like optimizing for send time. Are there other variables that you can use artificial intelligence for that are related to your email marketing efforts?
So a good example would be, we have a travel client that has a ton of availability, ton of inventory in terms of like the hotel rooms that would be available to them. And so that's a client where we're routinely leveraging AI to determine for each individual subscriber what is the right hotel or travel destination to feature for them based off of their combination of their recent bookings with browsing history, oftentimes even just inventory availability of specific different preferences. And so that's a piece that is continuously being used in email. That's just one specific example, but especially in the e-commerce space, what products are featured within an email should be highly personalized for each individual subscriber based off of, again, is it a new product? Is it something that is related to a product that they may have purchased previously? So that is a ready-made tool that we're constantly thinking through. How can we leverage more personalization? How can we make sure that that product feed engine is featuring all the latest information? And that is a really valuable tool that we are leveraging AI today.
All right, so let's add personalization onto our list. Now, to me, all of these things have been automatable before, right? Building segmentation. It's not like ChatGPT came out in 2023 and all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, the computers can do the segmentation for us. What are us marketers going to do? It's not like optimizing for send time is new. Mixmax, the email marketing tool we've been using for 5 years, does that. So how much of this stuff is actually news, or how much of it is just a reskinning of tools and features that we've already had?
To date, I would say most of it has been in the reskinning. I think the one tool that we use and that our clients are using is much more in that idea generation space. So I think that has been a very valuable tool for us as, we're brainstorming content or even potentially like campaigns. That has been a very valuable tool for us in thinking through putting in prompts and thinking through how can we get creative ideas of emails even to be sending out. But other than that, any of the tools I would say thus far are much more of the reskinning of tools that had existed previously that are leveraging some element of AI or machine learning.
When it comes to evaluating the performance of your email, are you using artificial intelligence at all?
We are not on that side of things. That's much more a combination of reporting from our client's email service provider and their individual tracking platforms. Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics are oftentimes out of the box tools they have in place.
So give me the list here. You mentioned some of the segments where artificial intelligence is useful: segmentation, copywriting, send times, optimization, and merchandising personalization. Are there specific tools that you like, or is everything sort of built into your existing systems?
So we're in a unique space in that we often inherit our clients' data stack, their MarTech stack. So that's good and bad in the sense that we are very adaptable, and oftentimes how we view our setup is just trying to make sure that our clients are maximizing what they have and what they're paying for. As part of that, we definitely have tools that we think are further along than others. I think the one tech partner that we leverage for one of our specific clients is Movable Ink, and I think they have a very strong foundation. Again, I don't think it's necessarily reskinning anything that is to date AI forward, but it's a great foundation as we are thinking through personalization and thinking through automation that enables the ability to fulfill on that personalization. And that would tie nicely into any sort of AI solutions as they are improved and maybe moving out of that sandwich phase.
So I guess the last question I have for you today is, as you think about where we are, sort of still the sandwich phase of artificial intelligence and email, you're kind of using artificial intelligence as a tool that inspires, a tool that assists, but not necessarily the tool of record to automate or publish your emails. What are you excited about, and where do you think we head in the future?
I do very much see AI as something that is heading in a direction that we are going to be leveraging for our clients. And for that reason, it's something that we're staying very on top of, thinking through not only what does that look like today, but what is that going to look like in the future? And as part of that, again, we don't see the value in necessarily streamlining the work. I think that the value is going to come from, in a future state, how can we be setting up our system that it's in the same ecosystem? We know that we're delivering content to the right subscriber at the right time. And the AI prompts that we're putting together and the guardrails we're placing around that are really dictating, okay, this is the right message to be getting to this subscriber based off of all those prompts, and really using that to fulfill on that future automated vision.
The solution is always right person, right place, right time. And that isn't something that we can completely automate just yet, but we're getting closer every day. And that wraps up this episode of the MarTech Podcast. Thanks to Brian McKenna, the VP of CRM at DMI Partners, for joining us. Join us again when Brian and I continue our conversation talking about database architecture for future AI. If you can't wait until our next episode and you'd like to learn more about Brian, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes, or you could visit his company's website, which is dmipartners.com. Just one more link in our show notes I'd like to tell you about. If you didn't have a chance to take notes while you were listening to this podcast, head over to martechpod.com, where we have summaries of all of our episodes and contact information for our guests. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can even apply to be the next guest speaker on the MarTech Podcast. Of course, you can always reach out on social media. Our handle is MarTechPod, MarTechPod, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, or you can contact me directly on LinkedIn. My handle is Ben J. Shap, BenJShap. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, we're going to publish an episode every day this year. So hit the subscribe button in your podcast app, and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.